Hello, this is the presentation I gave about lab safety, just the do's and don'ts, and everything you need to know to be able to pass your lab safety quiz. So for the basics, when it comes to chemistry class, we are going to be doing more intense labs than you have ever done before in your other science classes. So if you were in earth science or if you were in biology, these are going to be more intense than that. So we got to make sure we know the basics and that we are prepared. In our labs in chemistry, there will be chemicals, there will be reactions, there will be fire, and more things that you're not used to seeing at school. So it is so important that you are safe and that you take lab safety seriously. The good thing is you probably already know most lab safety rules, since every year that you take a science class, you've had to take a quiz to prove that you know the lab safety rules. So most of this is just going to be review. So what to start with? When it comes to lab safety, always remember to stop and think about what you're doing. Use your common sense. It will really take you far. Asking yourself, what will the consequences be of what I do next, is also really helpful. Just thinking in advance about what you're going to do. When you're in doubt about something or you're not sure, rather than just taking a chance, I would rather you just ask me. Don't ever be scared to ask me a question, even if you know I've already said it and you just forgot what I said. That's okay. I'd rather you just ask me again. And then never work alone. I always have to be in the room anytime you're working with any lab materials. All right, now let's start talking about what we need to wear in the lab. So when we do labs in chemistry, anytime that we're using chemicals or fire or certain materials, we need to put on safety goggles. I will always let you know when they're required, and we have safety goggles here in the classroom. So they must be worn in most chemistry labs, and even though we're reusing the goggles from class to class, they do get sanitized between each class in the goggle cabinet. There is UV lights that kind of disinfect them and get rid of any of the germs, so they will always be clean for you and ready to use. For other attire, we need to make sure that on lab days that we don't have really loose sleeves or hoodie strings that could get in the way of our lab materials. That's because they can get tangled up in the equipment or glassware and just cause accidents. In the lab, your legs must also be covered. So on lab days, I'll let you know when you need to make sure your legs are covered and that you're not wearing shorts. Long hair also needs to be tied back. So if you have long hair like me, make sure that you have a ponytail holder to put it back with. Or I'll always have rubber bands in the classroom as a last resort if you forget to bring a hair tie. Also, we cannot have any open-toed shoes in the lab. Your shoes must completely cover your foot, and there shouldn't be any exposed skin. Socks don't count though, so you cannot wear like sandals with socks. Even though your foot's covered, a chemical can get through your socks, so they're not safe. So let's look at Taylor Swift here. What do you think about her attire? Is she ready to go into the lab? So in class, I would ask for suggestions about this, but I'll just let you know why she is not ready. She has her hair down, first of all, and she has long hair, so she would need to tie that back. She's wearing a really baggy hoodie with hoodie strings that could really get in the way of equipment or glassware. Her legs are not covered. She has shorts on, which is dangerous because chemicals could spill onto her legs since it's a large part of her body exposed. And the one thing that she is doing right is she has closed-toed shoes, so her shoes are okay. But overall, she is not ready for the lab. Okay, let's do a little mini quiz here. Which shoes are okay to wear on lab days? First, we got the Birkenstocks or any other sandals. Are those okay to wear? No, they are not. Your foot is open to the air, so those are not safe. Next, right below the Birkenstocks are Converse. Are they safe? Yes, they are. Your entire foot is covered. Next are the Nikes. They're also good. Vans. Yep, they're good too. What about Crocs? Kind of a tricky one. Crocs are going to be a no. That is because if you look at them, they have all these holes in them, leaving parts of your foot exposed. So if you were to spill a chemical or something on your foot, it could go through the holes in those, and that would just not be good. And then lastly, we got the Yeezy slides with the socks. Do we think those are appropriate? No, they are not, because socks do not protect your foot. Okay, let's talk about handling chemicals now. So this is chemistry, so we often will be handling chemicals or substances that you're not used to working with. So when it comes to these chemicals, you're probably not going to be familiar with them. That's okay. I'm always going to give you directions, but you just need to make sure that you follow the directions carefully. Also, you should never pour chemicals down the sink when you're done with them, unless I tell you that it's okay. The reason you shouldn't do this is because if we pour a chemical down the sink, we don't know how that's going to interact with other liquids that have been in the sink or the materials of the sink or the pipes itself. So it could really cause some major damage. When handling chemicals, sometimes you might have to use gloves. Those would be provided by me, and I'll let you know when you need them. You should avoid touching your eyes or face anytime you are in the lab. If it's an emergency and your eye is like really itchy or something, you need to wash your hands before you touch anywhere near your face. Do not eat or drink in the lab. That one's pretty obvious. You don't want to get anything on your food and then ingest it. That could be really toxic. And then always wash your hands after the lab, every single time. A little bit more about handling chemicals. You should never directly smell a chemical. So like this first guy up here in the first picture, he's sticking his nose right up to the chemical and smelling it. That is a no. That is unsafe. Some chemicals, when smelled really close like that, can make you feel faint and can make you pass out. So when we need to smell a chemical, we use the wafting method. So like this girl down here at the bottom, she is wafting the smell of the chemical towards her nose and not directly smelling it. That is the safe way to do it. You should never mix chemicals unless you're told to do so by your teacher. So don't just try to do something because it seems like it would be fun or cool. Sometimes they can react badly together. So you should only mix things that you are told to mix. And then also make sure you tell me if you spill something. I know that accidents happen. Sometimes chemicals are going to get spilled. I always hope they don't, but if they do, I don't want you to be scared that you're going to get in trouble. And I don't want you to try to clean it by yourself because you might not know how to properly clean it. So always just tell me and then I can help you figure out how to deal with that. Okay, so couple scenarios here. What do you do if you get a chemical on your hands? You should wash your hands immediately. If you get a chemical in your eyes, you should use the eye wash station. Okay, for a period of I think it's at least 5 minutes. Could be 5 to 10 minutes. And see how that guy's putting his eyes in the water? That's what you would have to do if you get a chemical in your eyes. If you get a chemical on your body or clothes, you would use the safety shower by pulling down that lever and then letting the shower rain down on you for about 20 minutes. And then finally, if you get a chemical in your mouth, that is really bad and could be toxic. So I would need you to tell me immediately so I can figure out how to deal with the situation. Okay, next is broken glass. So I said that if you spill a chemical, you should tell me immediately. Same thing with if you break glass. I don't want broken glass, but I understand that accidents do happen. So if it does happen, I want you to tell me. You will not get in trouble if it's an accident. Don't try to clean it up without telling me. I don't want you to hurt yourself with that or lose it anywhere. And I would just sweep it up, not touching it myself either. And then we would put broken glass in the broken glassware container, never in the trash can, so that janitors or other people messing with the trash can won't accidentally get hurt. Okay, horseplay. Horseplay is the same thing as goofing off. So horseplay or goofing off should not happen in the lab. Even if you don't mean anything by it, it can still be dangerous. So just make sure you're being careful and being mature when you're in a lab situation. And just don't mess with stuff unless you are supposed to, and only mess with stuff the way you're supposed to. Okay, cell phones. They should always be put away during labs. Couple reasons for this. If you got chemicals on your phone, that could be really bad because you could carry those chemicals home with you. It could get on your skin or in your mouth, and that would be bad. Or there's other materials and chemicals like from your skin or from other things in school that get on your phone throughout the day that might not be dangerous to you, but when mixed with a chemical accidentally in the lab, it can be bad. So we don't want to cross-contaminate anything, so phones are not allowed in the lab. Okay, let's just look over the safety equipment really quick. I know this is hard if you're just watching this video and haven't seen my classroom to kind of visualize this stuff, but you can also Google each of these equipment pieces and see what they look like. Every lab has to have a first aid kit in case of emergencies or if you get cuts or anything on you. The first aid kit is something that you can grab yourself if it's an emergency, but of course, I would also want you to tell me if you or someone else is hurt. The eye wash station is what you use immediately if a chemical gets inside your eyes. The safety shower in my classroom is right next to the eye wash station. You would use it for 20 minutes if a chemical gets on your skin or your clothes. There's also a fire extinguisher in my classroom, just like there is with every other classroom in case of a fire. We also have fire blankets. They can be placed over a fire to extinguish them as well, kind of muffle them, taking away the oxygen so they don't keep burning. We don't have a pool fire alarm in our room. They're in the hallways, but we do have alarms that go off in our room to alert us if there's a fire. And then for the fire exit in my classroom, it is just the door, and then obviously we take our little fire route to go out to the parking lot if there were to ever be a fire. And then this is kind of what the safety equipment looks like a little bit better. We got our eye wash station starting in the top left. Then the fire blanket doesn't look exactly like that in my classroom, but pretty close. The next one is the safety shower, and then there's an eye wash station attached to that one as well. First aid kit, we got a fire extinguisher, and then a fire alarm, which would be in the hallway. All right, for the next part of class, what we did today was we played a mile-a-minute game just to review. I'm going to link this PowerPoint on Canvas in case you want to review the questions that we went over in our game. And then also we did a Kahoot that I will link on Canvas as well. I would really, really strongly advise you go through the Kahoot before taking the quiz because there are some questions on the Kahoot that I did not discuss in this presentation. They are pretty common sense, but it would definitely be worthwhile to just go through that Kahoot just to make sure that you're all good. Because we're taking the quiz directly afterwards. So, and the quiz will be on Canvas. So if you were absent during the day of the quiz, I'll have you make that up as soon as possible. Don't forget to also sign your lab safety contract through SIS, and your parents need to sign that as well. You need to have the quiz done and you have to pass it, and you also have to have the lab safety contract signed for you to be able to participate in labs. So yeah, that's about it. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you're confused about anything. Thank you.